With version 2.4 almost here, many players, especially low spenders and free-to-play, planning to pull for Cartethia might be wondering what kind of value she can provide to your account, since pulls are quite limited. So in today's video, I'm going to be using the official information that we have so far to analyze her pull value so that you'll know exactly what to expect when she officially drops in the game. If you find the video helpful, don't forget to drop a like and subscribe to the channel because it helps me out tremendously. Chacona being released in Phase 2 of version 2.3 and Cartethia also being released in Phase 1 of version 2.4 clearly gives us a hint that Cartethia is a main DPS character who will most likely have a good synergy with Chacona. And for every DPS character, there are 5 things that you need to consider whenever you decide to use your hard-earned Astrites to pull for them on your account, including ease of playstyle, high damage potential, decent area of effect for doing damage, easily accessible team options, and lastly, easily accessible weapons and echoes to make building them much easier. So I'm gonna pick them one after the other and break them down to give you guys an idea of what you should expect. Starting with ease of playstyle. From the livestream footage, she can place sword shadows on the ground by spamming basic attacks, using a heavy attack, and lastly casting a resonance skill while she's in the Cartethia mode. She can then plunge, which will absorb the sword shadows and buffer personal damage when she activates her liberation. This seems pretty easy to do and will not take that much field time, but it can become a bit of a problem if you're using her free-to-play team option, which I'll discuss very shortly. She can then use her liberation after consuming the sword shadows, and from the little clip that we saw right here, this animation will most likely be some kind of special resonance skill that becomes available when she transforms into Fleur-de-Lis. And the reasoning behind that speculation is due to the flashy nature of the animation. The rest of her attacks that were showcased are most likely from spamming basic attacks, and she ended it with this special animation, which might work like Jinxi's Forte that can be activated when she has full incandescent stacks or Forte stacks. So in terms of ease of playstyle, she would definitely have a low skill floor requirement. In terms of Cartethia's damage potential, the only DPS character that fits her archetype to give us an idea of what kind of numbers that we should expect is Zani, due to her ability to consume Spectral Frazzle to do damage. If we assume that Chacona is Cartethia's best in slot sub DPS buffer, we end up with a similar situation with Phoebe as the best in slot sub DPS buffer for Zani, and both sub DPS buffers provide 100% negative status amplification, which increases the damage of their DPS partners quite significantly compared to damage bonuses, since damage amplification effects have a separate multiplier. And we cannot ignore the fact that she's a Sentinel's resonator like Jinxie, so we can gladly expect Zani or Jinxie levels of damage or even more when she gets added onto the character roster. Per the footage provided during the live stream, you can see here that when she activates her liberation, it sends out some kind of shockwave in a large area of effect, which will most likely do damage upon contact with enemies. Aside from that, this animation right here that I talked about previously have a large area of effect as well, capable of hitting multiple targets in Whimpering Waste. And the mid-air basic attack spam animations seems to be wide enough to hit multiple enemies as long as they are close to each other. Lastly, the Excalibur animation, which will most likely deal the highest damage, will hit any enemy in front of you. So just like Zhang Liao, you have to reposition a bit and ensure that enemies are in front of you before you use it. But I'm not sure it works like Changli's Liberation and Forte Heavy Attack that hits all targets around you in a circular motion. So in terms of AoE damage or area of effect, I'm quite confident that Cartethia will have no issues, and those that pull for Chacona can rest easy because her Forte Heavy Attack pulls in enemies over a short period of time. Cartethia's easily accessible teams are looking pretty good because of Alto, who provides 23% aero damage amplification for 14 seconds, so you can rest easy in case you did not pull for Chacona. But there are some things that you need to consider first, because depending on the type of player that you are or your skill level, the Alto team composition may not be very comfortable due to the simple fact that Alto is not a straightforward character to use efficiently as far as concerto energy regeneration is concerned. But that's where I come in, so I've got you covered. In order to outro quickly, you need to take advantage of his low skill cooldown, which becomes 6 seconds if you have his S1, and use it more than once during your rotations. Another thing to keep in mind is that you can speed up his concerto energy regeneration even further by performing a simple swap to him and spamming his basic attacks, which will skip stage 1 and stage 2 and start from stage 3 up to stage 5, which regenerates the highest amount of concerto energy. So your Cartethia auto rotation will look something like this.
Bang! Pleasure doing business. You blink, you miss.
In war with time. Loading.
Count me in. Hey, be right
Ready for battle. Unstoppable.
Another thing to keep in mind is that Alto's damage amplification lasts for 14 seconds, so you have to drop and consume Cartethia's sword shadows before you intro to her from Alto to do damage. But this will not be a problem for those that have Chacona, since her outro buff lasts for 30 seconds in case she has synergy with Cartethia. So with Chacona, you can easily intro to Cartethia before you place the sword shadows and consume them, since the 30 seconds buff duration will be more than enough for Cartethia's field time requirement if we compare her to other DPS characters like Zani and Phoebe. We have no official information regarding the type of damage that Cartethia scales off of, including basic attack, liberation, heavy attack, or skill damage, so Alto will be the best pick at the time of making this video. So if you didn't pull for Chacona, you can start building Alto with Moonlit and give him the static mist. The only stats that matters as a sub DPS buffer for Cartethia is attack and energy regen 3 cost for Alto. The 4 cost will be crit rate or crit damage depending on what you're lacking, and the 1 cost will be attack percentage. Cartethia also has access to Arrow Rover in case you don't have Shorekeeper, but we don't have access to high refinement of the Blood Pack's pledge at the moment, so you can stick with Shorekeeper or Verena if you have them. But version 2.4 could possibly give us high refinement, so let's keep our fingers crossed. Cartethia's build is actually looking pretty good due to the following reasons. Emerald of Genesis is an easily accessible weapon that is available to most free-to-play, and the best part is that it has crit rate substats, which is perfect for any DPS character, but we have no idea what Cartethia scales off of at the moment, so if it turns out to be stats like defense, energy regen, or HP, the high base attack on Emerald of Genesis will be quite useless. The devs have also confirmed that the Windward Pilgrimage Sonata effect have 2 4-cost echoes, which is pretty amazing because this is a new set that we have to farm in version 2.4, so you can run 4-4-1-1-1 early on since they are easier to get compared to 4-3-3-1-1, but keep in mind that the 4-4-1-1-1 can actually be her best in slot echo formation if she's similar to Ling Yang, who gets a lot of attribute damage bonus passively. However, if she scales off different stats like HP instead of attack, and you can't afford to pull for her weapon, you will have to run 4-3-3-1-1 since she'll most likely have the stats that she scales off of, like HP for example, on her weapon, like Brand's signature weapon that has energy regen substats. And building crit stats won't be difficult because of the Windward Pilgrimage set that provides 10% crit rate for Cartethia in addition to the 40% error damage bonus. So per all the requirements discussed so far that can help you decide if Cartethia is worth pulling for, you can see that the advantages far outweigh the disadvantages from an objective point of view. So you can't really go wrong with pulling for her on your account if you can afford it. The only problem that you might run into in multi-target situations where enemies that had arrow erosion applied on them by Cartethia get eliminated, which makes it difficult to apply arrow erosion, especially if she can only do so in the Cartethia mode. But if that's the case, I'm sure the devs will implement a way for Cartethia to reapply arrow erosion in such situations due to the simple fact that there's no easily accessible character that applies arrow erosion, and making a character function properly only if they pull for premium characters like Chacona will receive major backlash from the community, which will be even much worse than the Zani Phoebe situation that we had about a month ago. That'll be all for my Cartethia pull value analysis. Hope this video provided value to you, and if it did, leave a like and subscribe to help support the channel because it's free and you can always change your mind. Be sure to also join our Discord community if you're having any issues with the game or just want a place to chill or hang out. Link will be in the video description. Catch you guys in the next one. Bye bye.